everybody, Anna Sabramowitz here. I hope you're having a fabulous day. Listen, I just gotta tell you, the SME is not your customer. And I'm saying this because this just came up recently in a conversation I had during one of my last training webinars. So I thought I'd address it here because I think it's very useful for everybody because I've suffered through this myself. Also, before I forget, I'm running a training webinar tomorrow. So if you missed the last one, you get a chance to register for the next one, which is tomorrow. So go to elearningsecrets.com to sign up. If you are watching this live and you can put it in the comments for me, that would be absolutely fabulous. I'd appreciate that. Now, this is kind of interesting because I think the comment that came up during the last training session was, how do I deal with subject matter experts that are like blocking my way to getting feedback from end users, from practitioners, right? Because this is super important. And I thought, oh man, like I've been there. I've been in those situations. So I think there's a way for us to approach this, and also we have to let go of some of the ways of thinking about subject matter experts. Because I remember, this years back, right? We did this kind of training, and it was about how to deal with people in the workplace, right? And we were always told, everybody is a customer, not just your customer. Your colleagues are your customers, your peers are your customers, right? And really what it was trying to reinforce was this idea that you treat everybody with respect, you treat everybody with consideration, and the way you treat somebody at work in another department is really the same way you should be treating your customer, which is just, with consideration, respect, and all those other things, right? But I think some of us took it a little too far and thought that other people are our customers and they dictate how we do our jobs, and that's not true. And the other thing I'm thinking is that there might be a little bit of a misconception about where the line is drawn between a subject matter expert and a customer, and who owns that content and who benefits from it. So in an academic setting, most times when you're working with a subject matter expert, they in fact are like the person who owns that content, they're the professor, and then what happens is they own half of it, right? So you're working with them and they really are your customer. So I get that. And pardon the leaf blowing guy. But in a business setting, even if you are even a freelancer working, the subject matter expert is not your customer. The business is your customer, and the business needs to be the one benefiting from it, right? Give me a heck yeah if you know what I'm talking about. So if the subject matter expert is blocking your access to other people, to other resources that you need, they are in fact sabotaging the business. And if that happens, you need to do something about it, because you are working for the business. You are not working for the subject matter expert. They are part of your team. They are part of your collaboration, but you have to see them as such, right? A part of your team, not the business, not the people who are going to get the most value from that. So that's one approach. And the other thing is, sometimes I think, I learned this the hard way, right? When I first started freelancing, I was used to people saying no when I said, can I talk to the end user? Can we do some surveys with people who are actually, or can I just have a conversation with somebody who's at the very end? And the thing is, there were certain things that I did that I didn't realize I should have done differently. A lot of times when you ask people to do like a survey or a follow-up, the person who's coordinating that thinks that's just a ton more work for them, and they're going to say no. And I've been there. They've said no. And I was like, oh man, I got to talk to the end user. How am I going to prove that this is valuable? How am I going to use the language that they use? How am I going to relate to them if they've never had input on this experience, and if it's valid? They've never reviewed it before it's launched. That sucks, right? And then, so that's one thing where I didn't really share it in an effective way, in a way that would take the edge off and the pressure off the other person, saying, I can handle it. Just give me all you need, really. Like, and this is statistically viable. You need 3 people to basically talk to for like 30 to 45 minutes, and you have enough for contextual information, scenarios, and all kinds of stories. So you don't need very much time. You just need 3 top performers. So you can handle that. The other thing, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but this is what happened to me, is I would kind of sell myself on the idea that the business is resistant to me talking to practitioners in the field. Somehow they're like guarding them or something. And I would sell myself this story, and therefore I'd either ask, or I'd ask with this preamble that, like, I'm not gonna get it, right? They're gonna say no. When you already have made that decision beforehand, like they're going to be resistant to it and they're going to say no, guess what happens? You make the prophecy fulfill itself, right? So I noticed that when I started coming in saying, assuming I'm going to get practitioners and asking for them up front, saying that's a part of the project, we want to make this as awesome as possible, right? So do you. I need 2 or 3 practitioners to talk to in the field. It started happening. And I don't know what it was, and it must have been the way I was starting to show up and ask, because it changed everything for me. So I ask you to drop even if you are starting a project, drop that they're going to say no. Just come in with the expectation that they're going to say yes and ask for it up front to make an awesome project. And so that's one of the things that, when I'm working with clients, one of the things that I need as a storyteller is to get the narrative from people who are living the life that the story is about. I can't get that from a subject matter expert. As much as I'd love to, because they're available, they have time, they have already become experts. And I need people who are still in the mindset or remembering what it's like to suffer to learn this stuff. What are the struggles? And if that's a way that you can actually position it to those people, that's a great way to do it. You say, you know what? Your expertise is fabulous. I love it. But I need people to talk to as well, so that we can figure out where people have like bad assumptions, where they struggled, where, because you've arrived. So I need to know what it means to actually still be struggling to arrive, because that creates some awesome assumptions that I can work into my scenarios where people really mess up. And the way I learned this, and this was crazy, was years back I was designing this project where we were actually training new sales staff on this 5-step sales process. And it's so cool how this came about. So I had like 2 or 3 subject matter experts, and we were like talking about this process, and I was like, how do people mess this up? We're trying to come up with all these scenarios with different kinds of customers, so they could kind of walk through the process and make some assumptions about where they mess up. And they were like, yeah, the reason this isn't working for most people is they're just not following this 5-step process. And I was like, okay, all right, that's cool. So we developed all these like mock scenarios. It's like, okay, this is how it's going to work. And then we actually got to talk to 2 top performers. And it was really cool because and this is why it's so important to really know that those meetings with top performers or practitioners in the field are like sacred. And that's why you need to be really focused with the questions you ask, because they don't have time to learn about your process, what you do, what is e-learning, all those things. You just really want to like laser focus on them and their experience, right? So what I did is I got to talk to 2 of them while they were between sales calls in their car, which is amazing, right? Because that's how busy these top performers are. They're out there hustling, doing their thing, right? Which is who you want. So and I'm kind of freaked out, right? Like I'm like, I don't want to waste this person's time, and they're so busy, and there's all these other people like listening on the call, and I'm all stressed out because I don't want to sound stupid, right? I'm like, anyways, so I'm talking, and I talk about I didn't actually talk very much. What I did is I said, okay, tell me about your day and how you use the 5-step system in your day. And they're telling me about their day. And both of them said, yeah, everybody follows the 5-step system. But then they told me something very interesting, and it wasn't explicit. They told me about all the time they spend to build communication and rapport with the client. So they follow the 5-step process, but it is a minuscule part of that actual experience. The bulk of it is listening to the client. And I was like, boom, the ball dropped for me. And I was like, I just talked to 3 experts for like 2 months. And all we focused on was this 5-step system. And we could have launched it with just that, but we would have missed the critical piece. And I was like, thank God I talked to these people who actually live this. And the reason this is the thing. It wasn't that the experts didn't know about rapport. They damn well did. Of course they did. They used to be salespeople themselves. But the thing is, what happens with experts over time is that you begin to amalgamate skills into a single step, into a single process. So for them, rapport, like even if we said the first step is establish rapport, but nobody's going to say, yeah, but that takes 80% of that time. And most people, that's the part they mess up on. They don't actually listen. They don't actually establish the rapport. They're super nervous. They want to talk about the product instead of just realizing it's the listening that makes all the difference. So it wasn't that my practitioners didn't, or my subject matter experts didn't know that step. In some cases, it's been like 10 years since some of them have actually been doing out there hustling this stuff, right? So when I'm talking to the practitioners, I'll say, what did you struggle with most about the 5-step process? They'll say, it wasn't the steps. It was the fact that I had to learn how to be good with people first and listen. And I didn't realize that the sale would happen naturally if I just listened, because they liked me and they trusted me to make the best decision for their store or whatever. So for me, that to me was just like the pivotal moment where I was like, I got to talk to practitioners. I got to talk to people who I'm designing this for, who are living the reality that I'm crafting through my interactive story, because it makes so much difference. And it's happened over and over again. And every single time that I've delayed on that, it's cost me time and work and rework, because I was like, man, I should have talked to them earlier. This would have been so pivotal. Even in the language that people use, sometimes they're like, this is manual stuff. We don't talk like this in the field. We do say this. And that's key, because you want to relate to those people. It's for them, right? Imagine putting a movie out in like legalese. That's basically what you're doing, right? So you want to talk to those people all the time. And I know it's hard sometimes, and you get a lot of resistance. So I suggest you show up with an expectation that that's going to be provided for you. Another thing I suggest is you're trying to do a good job, right? You're trying to get the best thing out there and not waste anybody's time. So put that out there. Say that you want to make the best thing possible and not waste anybody's time. So say we want to use the language that these people are using so that they can relate to these situations. We want to use the context, the nuances. Let's get some of that. It's not about saying that you're wrong. It's about getting that nuanced color that we need to make these stories valid, And also keep pushing. Keep freaking pushing, because you're trying to do a good job and you're trying to impact the business. You're trying to do something that if it's not done well, everybody's gonna suffer, even the SME, right? Because if the business fails, the SME won't also have a job. So one of the things you need to do is just say, hey, who's this benefiting the most? It's everybody. Let's do the best job possible. And if you need to keep on pushing and going up, damn well do it. It won't work all the time, but you got to get in the habit of demanding what is necessary to produce the best work possible. And you're always going to face resistance, because if it was easy, we'd all be, rock stars and everything would just be hunky-dory. But resistance is a part of this job. But don't worry about it. Just keep pushing and keep trying, so that at the end of the day you could say, I tried my best, I kicked butt. Tomorrow I'm going to do the same. All right, so if you want to learn more about the kinds of conversations, the kind of questions you want to have, you're serious about doing this kind of stuff that means something, people find relevant, and actually you feel proud to launch out there, go to elearningsecrets.com and register for my training webinar. Even if you're not able to attend tomorrow, guess what? Sometimes if it's right, I'll be able to provide a replay. So get on the list so that if I'm running one at a different time, you can attend. And if you found this information useful, inspirational, you think somebody should hear this message, tag them in the comments, share it, and I'll see you here next time, friends. And thanks so much for watching and stopping by. All right, take care. Bye.